Dragon Age the Veilguard is releasing in less than 2 weeks, and all bets are off when it comes to the expectations for this game. If you guys don't know, Bioware and EA, to some extent, essentially, they've had 2 major flops back to back, and if this doesn't work out for them, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Bioware like around at all. Definitely for at least 10 years, I would say. They've been doing everything right, I would say, moving forward with this game. Aside from the initial, I would say, reveal trailer, even developers themselves have said they did not like it. Once they started showing off actual gameplay and their preview events and everything, everyone's kind of going like, oh, this is actually kind of working out really well. And they're also doing a lot of cool things like not having third-party DRM is absent. They are already Steam Deck verified. I'm pretty sure they've gone gold already, which is pretty cool. And now we actually get to see the PC requirements for this game. So we want to take a look at these real quick, and we want to know your guys' thoughts. Are these requirements good? Are they bad? Are they kind of in the middle? Because there are some additional notes that we're going to talk about here in a second. But if you can look on screen right here, obviously we've got ray tracing off and ray tracing on. Just unless you've got a 4090, just turn ray tracing off. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, it kills your performance. Why have that? But anyway, looking at the average performance, they have for minimum 1080p 30 FPS. In-game graphics settings are going to be set for low. Operating system across the board, Windows 10/11. CPU for this is going to be an i5-8400 or an AMD Ryzen 3 3300X. RAM across the board, regardless, is still 16 gigabytes. The GPU for these particular low settings is going to be a GTX 970. I had one of those over 10 years ago, so that's definitely somewhat impressive. VRAM for that is going to be 4 gigabytes, and then storage is going to be 100 gigabytes, which again, pretty normal across the board. It says HDD support. Guys, get off of that spinning drive. Just have an SSD. They're not that expensive anymore. Like, just get off of it for gaming at least. As we continue across the board, though, you can see things like 1440p 30 FPS or 1080 60, combination of some high graphics settings, Intel i9 9900K, NVIDIA 2070 for that kind of stuff. Going into Ultra, we see obviously 4K 60. We see Intel i9 12900K or an AMD Ryzen 9 7950X, 4080 for a GPU or a 79 XTX for the AMD side of things. So we're seeing some, overall not terrible specs, I would say, in my personal opinion. Do keep in mind that this game is being run on Frostbite. And if you've not played a Frostbite game in quite some time, maybe you played Battlefield like we did back in the days, that is definitely CPU heavy in terms of how it works there. So keep that in mind. The final note I'll make before I turn it over to Lemon here is that it does say at the very bottom, AMD CPUs on Windows 11 and AM4 motherboards require a GESA V2 1.207 or newer, aka I think your BIOS update. And then going from there, we've got RT selective, so ray tracing selective, which is over here on the right side. Enables ray tracing features in certain areas that can be best take advantage of this feature. And then finally, average performance estimates including the use of optimal upscaling. So do keep in mind that even though we have these right here, upscaling in some areas are going to be turned on, which I feel like a lot of people do use these day and age, unless I guess you're some hardcore purist who says upscaling is the devil's work and everything. So, but Lemon, what are your personal takes on all these PC specs right here? They're definitely, I'd say, with ray tracing off, they're not terrible, but knowing that this game runs on Frostbite, which is definitely CPU heavy, makes sense why we're seeing these pretty big, changes in between each set recommended settings and everything. What are your personal takes on this as a code monkey / programmer?
Upscaling's the devil's work. I mean, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. Frostbite being very CPU intensive. You look at the core accounts on the ultras, either ray tracing off or any of the ray tracing. A lot of cores. A lot of cores. Like, I remember back in the day, I was pretty pumped getting a quad core CPU. I thought it was pretty hot shit. And now my current CPU has 20 logical threads. So I think this game is going to run like ass, though. I mean, I feel like it's crazy to me how we're at the point where our VRAM is nearly at the recommended system memory. Like, the Ultra ray tracing off, 16 gigabytes of system memory and 12 gigs of VRAM. Like, what is going on? Why? do I have a combined of like, was it 28 gigs of RAM? Like, what's going on, guys? Like, that's weird. But I digress. Just how bizarre I find current system specs. I hope this game runs well. I really want this game to be good. I feel like these specs are very much kind of exponential in growth. In terms of the RAM is consistent 16 gigs across the board, which is interesting. Same with storage. It's only the VRAM and kind of the CPU is going up. Minimum to recommend on ray tracing off is kind of a big jump, but I don't think the recommend ultra is that big of a jump. And for GPUs, it's not that huge of a jump going from recommend to ultra. Ray tracing on is really interesting because they pretty much say, F it, we're not even gonna try for 60 frames. Like RT on 1440p, 30 frames. RT on 4K, 30 frames. Like, guys, like I can make the joke all goddamn day about the whole human eye can't see more than 24 and a half frames a second. It's more cinematic. Herp derp, memes go here. But this is not it. Like, in a previous video, we were talking about the plateauing effect. We can't keep doing this shit. Like, this is ridiculous. 30 FPS on a $3,000 system? Are we kidding me? Who are we kidding? Like, this is ridiculous. FrameGen exists. Why do I have to dick around with 30 FPS? Everything's AI assisted at this point. Why do I still have 30 FPS? And it probably has to be down rendered then upscaled before it gets to your monitor. Like, what? Who are we kidding here? This is insane. All right, end rant. I'll probably play this game. If I don't play it on console, it'll probably be on ray tracing off, probably somewhere between recommend ultra for me.
Well, it'll be interesting. So for anyone who's, for I guess kind of a look at how we personally can play this game if we choose to play it on PC, is we're in between the recommended and ultra of ray tracing off, I believe. We both have an i9 10900K CPU. We have 16 gigabytes of RAM easily. I think both of us have 32.
I actually have 64 now.
Okay, you have 64. Again, showing you RAM's not that big of a deal.
Wasteful.
In terms of a graphics card, I'm at a 3080 personally, and Lemon, you're at a 7900 XTX, if I remember correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Top end AMD.
Right, so top end AMD, SSD, storage, whatever, that's child's play for us. So
yeah.
So we're in between there technically with this stuff. But again, it is going to be interesting to see how well this game runs, because during some of the previews, they did say that it still looks a little rough in terms of being, graphical and fidelity wise and everything like that. I'm curious how this is going to run on the consoles, right? How is PlayStation 5 going to handle this? How is Xbox Series X and S going to handle this? Especially S, like anything, because S is, 8 gigabytes of VRAM? If I remember, no, 6, 8?
It's 8 gigabytes of unified RAM. So
unified RAM, so shared, yeah. And the minimum specs of this game are saying 16 gigabytes of normal RAM. So together be 20. Right.
So just to put it in perspective, I'm pretty sure both the PS5 normal and the Series X both have shared 16 gigs.
I believe they do,
so
yes.
They're sharing their system and VRAM. So together they have less than the minimum on PC.
Right. And then you want to throw this onto the S as well. Oh boy, there's gonna be a lot of upscaling right there. Yeah. And again, getting back to the Unreal Engine has definitely been very it's never been very reliable, mostly made for first-person shooters. So this is gonna make some PCs chug, I feel like. And then definitely the consoles. Again, I want to know how this thing runs. Some of the previews are saying, again, this is not running the greatest. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen here.
This isn't even Unreal. This is Frostbite, which is even worse than Unreal.
Oh, it is, yeah. Sorry, did I say Frostbite or did I say Unreal at some point?
It's Unreal. You brought it Freudian slip, I guess, but you brought up a decent point. Like, Unreal 5 runs bad. Yeah. Frostbite is going to run even worse because it never ran well. Yeah. Frostbite has always been an absolute dog on a console. It's just terrible on a console.
It is.
And they're going to try to running out here. Look at these specs. Like, this is not going to run well on a console. When this comes out and it gets decent reviews, I'm buying it on console. And I guarantee you I'll be lucky to get 720p upscaled into 4K at 30 FPS on my PS5. I'll be lucky.
Easily. Funny enough, this game is going to be PS5 Pro enhanced, but I don't know if that's really going to make a big difference. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm curious because especially when I saw the trailer during the latest, I believe it was the Sony State of Play, the one that we saw in September. I'm actually excited for this game. I think the game looks like a lot of fun. When I saw some of the previews and how kind of the combat was working and everything, it looked like a cool mix of some Dragon Age from beforehand, kind of combined with the Final Fantasy VII Remake / Rebirth combat system, you know, where you slow things down, you get to choose things, and you're moving in real time. I actually really like that kind of concept and everything. But I am, again, worried about performance. And I'm not saying that the game, and when I say performance, I'm not talking about the game looking the most beautiful 8K, 120. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about it running. Is it chugging? Is it stuttering? Is there clipping? All of that stuff. That's what I'm worried about. Like Lemon here, I'm definitely worried. I myself will be buying it on the PS5, even though I know my PC can handle it. It just simply makes it easier in terms of my setup for like doing videos or recording and everything. Unless I see in the reviews that the console version runs like absolute garbage, then I will buy it on PC. Absolutely. But I'm scared. I'm definitely scared in terms of the performance of this game. The game itself, just looking at the game, you know, like the story and all this other stuff that you're going to be doing in it, it actually looks fun. It actually does. I hope it does well. But I am worried about the PC requirements and just how this is going to run on consoles. Like we said, even base PS5 and Series X, I fear for. S, I definitely fear for. So it'll be interesting. I mean, the fact that this game, it is Steam Deck verified, which is unusual to hear this.
Insane.
Right. But again, even looking at these specs and what we know that Steam Deck can do, that thing is definitely going to be pushing like, what, 15 frames, 720, maybe at all low settings. You know, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen here. It will be interesting. The game releases in 2 weeks, a little less than that. Halloween, basically. At least there's no DRM.
Which is weird.
So, you know, that's cool.
Anyone else find it weird that they're releasing it on Halloween? This game has like the makings of just kind of pushing out the door. And then we have previews like, this game is great. I'm getting very like mixed vibes. Like the game plays well, but EA is pushing it out on Halloween.
Yeah, I think they're probably just at the point like, you got to get this out now. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, essentially.
Yeah, this whole run up to this game releasing has been bizarre. So I don't know what's gonna happen.
All I can say is that in less than 2 weeks, we're gonna know. So make sure you guys check back then, and we'll give you guys an update on this because it is going to be interesting.